I had written an article about ethics and AI, and Tom asked if I could expand that to a whole session, and the answer is sort of. So what we're going to do a few things today. If you look at that QR code or the funky little link at the bottom, you can get a handout from this session with all the examples that I'm using. So if you go to pgl.llc/s/chatgpt, or just go to the QR code, you can get the links. And here's a little bit about me. I've been doing consulting and coaching with product managers since 1993. Which I realized this year was 30 years ago, which seems like it was only like 15 minutes ago, but okay. Here's my contact information. I'm the CEO of a company called Product Growth Leaders. You may know me from my days at Pragmatic Marketing. I think I was one of the first speakers at SVPMA years ago, but I know I've spoken there a number of times. Nowadays, I work with product teams doing applied learning and coaching, and helping teams with product management fundamentals, largely based on my book, Turn Ideas into Products, which is available on Amazon in hardback, softback, and Kindle. I did realize recently that I don't have an audio book, because every time I read the book, I correct it while I'm reading it. So that's not working. But anyway, here's where we are with ChatGPT. Does anybody remember? I'm sorry? Okay. Does anybody remember Word for Office version 1? That's where we are with ChatGPT. This is a screenshot of version 1, and here's a screenshot of Word today. And it took them 20 years to go from here to here. And we're going through this in weeks with generative AI. Today's product cycles are much more quick than 20 years ago. We're already up to what we're going to use today is probably ChatGPT 3.5, which is the free version. There's already a version 4, and they're talking about releasing version 5 sometime in early 2024. So it's moving all the time. But here's the question that people keep asking me, and that is, will ChatGPT take my job? And the answer is maybe, if your job is secretarial. If all you do is take stories from somebody else and turn them into user stories, if all you're doing is reading aloud from Jira to the developers, then yeah, ChatGPT is going to take your job. I mean, I'll show you in a few minutes. With ProdPad, a tool that I use, you can go in and put it in an Epic and then click on a button and it will make all the user stories. But maybe it won't quite make all the user stories. So, the real question is, has anybody seen a secretary lately? I'm rewatching Mad Men, and it's just driving me insane because everyone is drinking all day long and they're smoking all day long. And if it weren't for the secretaries, nothing would get done in that office. But I've never had a secretary. I doubt if anyone on this call has had a secretary. So that job is gone largely, right? And I think those jobs that we have that are, if you will, secretarial, will in fact be gone. But there's really good news, because I believe product managers add a lot more value than that. So here are the 3 things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about what is ChatGPT. We're going to talk about how do you use it. And then we're going to do a breakout. And I'm going to ask you to go, we're going to break into teams, and I'm going to ask you to go into ChatGPT and ask a couple of key questions that would inform a product manager. And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the ethics of it all, because that's the part that really bothers me. And I'll come back to that. So first, what is ChatGPT? And the answer is, ChatGPT is a natural language interface to a large language model of information grabbed from the internet. And I think this group of people may be the only people I know who understood the sentence I just said. So basically, all of us are going to use AI tools the same way that we use the internet. And if you ask your mother or your daughter or your niece or your aunt or your uncle, none of them will be able to tell you what the internet is. It's like you go into the browser thingy and you type stuff and they tell you things. That's what they know about the internet. And that's what they're going to know about ChatGPT. And that's okay. I mean, very few of us, although I know at least 2 people on this call who can write raw HTML, but most of us cannot. And we don't need to in HTML, and we're not going to need to with ChatGPT. But let's go a little further. 18% of us in America, as of a few months ago, have heard a lot about ChatGPT. 39% of us have heard a little, and an amazing 43% of Americans have never heard of ChatGPT. And I'm guessing that is not true for anybody here on the call. But we're not, average Americans, I think, in this story. And I would guess that less than 90% understood this slide. But anyway, so what is ChatGPT? You know what? Let's do this. Let's ask ChatGPT. And it's sort of helpful, but not really helpful. So I'm going to go through here and show you the output. I asked, what is ChatGPT? Chat said this, and I know you can't read that, so I'm going to blow it up. Chat said, sure. ChatGPT has been trained on, ChatGPT is a type of computer program that is designed to have conversations with people. It uses artificial intelligence to understand what people are saying and respond to them in a way that makes sense. It can understand and generate human-like text, making it seem like you're chatting with a real person. However, it's important to remember that ChatGPT is just a computer program and doesn't have real understanding or emotions like humans do. So you got to admit, I mean, they did a pretty good job explaining them. And by the way, those highlightings were mine, not its. But it's kind of wonderful to go in and ask these questions. And ultimately, it says about itself, the goal of ChatGPT is to assist and provide helpful information, but it's always a good idea to verify its responses with other sources, especially for important or sensitive topics. The adoption of ChatGPT has been astounding. ChatGPT took 2 months to get to 100 million users. And I think this really speaks to how dissatisfied we are with traditional search. You go into Google, you do a search, it says, well, here's maybe the answer, but here's 1,000 other pages for you to look at. Whereas ChatGPT comes along and it says, here's an answer. And it may be right, it may be wrong, it's hard to know, but it's the fastest growing application in history until just a few weeks ago when Thread came out. So ChatGPT took 2 months to get to 100 million. TikTok took 9 months to reach 100 million. And Thread achieved 100 million in 2 days. Thread already has more users than Mastodon after only 1 day of its existence. And all of these stats really speak to dissatisfaction. One of the factors that we use when evaluating ideas is how dissatisfied are people? It's not so much how important is it, or how much evidence is it, or what is the impact, or what is the effort? It's like, how dissatisfied are they? And this is major evidence of dissatisfaction. And I'm going to talk today about ChatGPT. It's the one that has caught everybody's attention, but there are dozens and maybe hundreds more, with new ones being introduced every day. And it's exactly like the early days of computers, software, internet, and search. There's always new tools coming out. And it's likely that the big names will win. I mean, number 2 and 3 on that list there, ChatGPT has the most noise right now, but Bard is very close, and Bing Chat is close after that. So it's likely, it's probable, I don't know, that one of those two will win the game. And oh, by the way, just because I'm in a kind of a ranting mood here, Apple has been using AI for years. They just don't talk about it. I mean, they come up and say, well, here's the score of the big game. Or when I got in my car today to go to my doctor, my CarPlay said, I think you're probably going to the doctor. Do you want me to give you directions? Obviously, that's AI, but they're not talking about it. They're just doing it. Everybody else is talking about it. But nonetheless, so these are the top 15 or 20 tools that exist nowadays. Some of them you'll recognize, some are new. Some of these will disappear in a few months, others will reappear. But anyway, McKinsey says current generative AI and other technologies have the potential to automate work activities that absorb 60 to 70% of employees' time today. And the truth of the matter is, a lot of the stuff we do is crap. Writing an email or creating a Jira ticket. It's like, this is secretarial. And oh, by the way, ChatGPT is expected to, their revenue is expected to be 200 million by the end of this year and $1 billion by the end of next year. Holy moly. So enough said about ChatGPT. Let's get into it. Here's some really simplistic and very helpful prompts. Write an email to cancel an appointment and request another date and time. You just go into chat, you type this prompt, and it says, oh, hey, here's an email for you. I hope this email finds you well. I'm writing to inform you that unfortunately I need to reschedule, and so on and so forth. And by the way, all these prompts and all of their complete outputs are in the handout that you can find at the URL showing on the screen, pgl.llc/s/chatgpt. Here's the one I love the most. I can never remember tricks in Excel. And I always go out and search, and I find some random site that was created like 15 years ago, and they're showing stuff in Windows 3.1 version of Excel. And I just go in and go, hey, here's one I need a lot. Give me the first name out of a full name field. So I go into ChatGPT. I say, dude, create an Excel formula to get the first name from a full name field. And it says, here you go. Here's the formula. And there's, pros around here. And again, that pros is in the handout. It's kind of amazing. And yet, the part that people miss is they often are thinking about, oh my gosh, this is AI, or oh my God, this is PGT. And the key word is chat. It remembers the conversation you're in. So you can say, no, I didn't mean that. I meant this other thing. Or could you expand on that? Or give me 3 examples of that. So think of it as a chat, like you're chatting with a friend or a colleague. So here's an example of a tool that I use. This is from our Fundamentals of Managing Products class at Product Growth Leaders. This is a simple, very simple persona document. I'm sure you've got something just like it. How many times have you tried to create a persona? It could very well be your next persona will be created by ChatGPT. So I went into ChatGPT and I said, hey, create a persona for the head of product. And it said a whole bunch of stuff. And I won't read it, right? Lots of detail about Alex Miller, right? And then I said, well, wait a minute, at a healthcare company. And it said a whole bunch of stuff. And I said, hang on, with more than 200 million in revenue. And it said, okay, cool, here you go. So each revision that I did resulted in finer distinctions between these generic titles as I got more and more specific. And then I asked, what does the head of product at a at a healthcare company making more than 200 million revenue. What are their issues? And he said, well, I mean, the thing said, here are their 5 issues: product strategy, team leadership, user-centric approach, technical acumen, collaboration, and business acumen. That gave me all that I needed to populate a good section of my persona document for this Jonathan Mitchell, who is the head of product at a healthcare software development firm. And in the lower left-hand corner, you can see the skills and knowledge that person has. So then I said, hey, Chat, give me a dashboard for Jonathan. And he's like, oh, well, you know, I can't do graphics, but as an AI-based tool, as a text-based model, I'm unable to directly design visual elements like a dashboard, but I can tell you however, I can provide you with a description of the key components and metrics that could be included in a dashboard, including these: user engagement, feature adoption, customer feedback, A/B testing, competitive analysis, financial metrics, and customizable modules. And then I said, hey, create a story for the customizable modules. And it said, done, here you go. As the head of product, Jonathan wants a dashboard to provide flexibility for him to customize and add models according to his specific needs and priorities. Then I went over, just for the fun of it, to my favorite road mapping tool, ProdPad. Turns out they've already got an AI tool here where you can put in your epic and click on the button over here to the right, which is surrounded in orange, generate AI ideas, and it creates those items. And here's the part that I'm trying to convey that I'm not sure I'm actually conveying is we don't really need to learn that much about generative AI because it's going to be built into the tools that we use. When I use Grammarly, it says, Steve, what the hell is wrong with you? You're writing like you're, in college. Your readers are not reading at that level. Here's a way of simplifying your sentence. When I go into ProdPad and set up an epic, it says, boom, click on this button, I'll make the user stories for you. So I went in and I said, okay, to ChatGPT, create a description of customizable modules, which is one of the features we saw a moment ago, but I need it for marketing materials. And it went nuts. It said, hey, our cutting edge enterprise software development company is excited to unveil a powerful feature that empowers you to take control of your dashboard like never before. I would never have written that sentence, and I'm not sure I would ever use that sentence, but oh my gosh, somebody's got some pretty good marketing chops here. And one of my friends that is on the call here is Barb Nelson. She and I are wicked users of a product called Wix, which is our website manager. It's adding this capability to the website. So we can go in and say, hey, give me a good paragraph about, the incredible things that we do here at Product Growth Leaders. But you know what? Here's the real exciting part. AI will never replace product management, but hang on. It depends on what you mean when you say product management, because what I mean when I say product management is the representative of the customer. I insist that you need to understand the customer to be a product manager, which means chat can't do that. AI can't do that. We have to engage materially, one-on-one, face-to-face, as much as possible with real people who use our products in order to represent them in our prioritization, in our story writing, in all of the mechanics of product management. And too many people try to hire research to do this. I was doing a session a few years ago on win-loss, which is an incredible research tool. And at the end of this session, the VP of marketing said, well, what kind of an agency would I hire to do this work? And I kind of lost my mind for a moment. And I said, why do you marketing people hate talking to customers? They love talking to agencies. They hate customers. And it kind of derailed the conversation a little bit, but it seems like we love to outsource the one thing that product management does better than anyone else. Sales doesn't know the customers. They know the prospects they're working right now. Product managers need to be experts on customers and potential customers. And the lack of insight that comes from agencies or AI tools is not going to give us what we need to be effective product managers. And as you think about the scope of product management, it's this thing we call the Quartz Open Framework. It's a framework for generally for process, but more specifically targeted to product managers. And it says, if you want to be an effective product manager, you need to start by discovering problems to solve, committing the resources to solve it, describing those problems to the people who create our solutions so they can create innovative solutions, which we deliver to the market, and then connect with our customers with programs that drive growth, and then you do it all again. And at the core of this is continuous learning. I don't believe that I can be replaced. I don't believe you can be replaced. I believe that AI gives us a tool, a method of taking our hypothesis that comes from our engagement with the market and looking at our usage data and looking at our local data and looking at the public data and doing analysis on the data based on a hypothesis to come up with a conclusion. But I don't believe data science or AI can come up with the hypothesis. So when I work with marketing teams and product teams, here's what I believe the job of product management is. It's business acumen. We conduct primary research to discover friction in the buying and the using of our product. We communicate and collaborate with all the teams that we work with. And to do that, we need to develop literacy in our software, our data, and our platforms, even if you're not a software company. And now, on top of all of that, we need to add literacy in AI tools. I asked ChatGPT about this, and it said the output provided by AI tools can be inaccurate and unreliable, and it's crucial to edit and verify the information provided. So you need to think of ChatGPT as a research assistant or a copy editor, or perhaps the best metaphor of all is an intern. You know, when you hire an intern and you pay them like nothing or almost nothing, you check their work. I mean, you don't just say, hey, write this and stick it on the website. I'm sure it'll be fine. No, you look over the work that they do, and you have to look over the work that AI is doing for you. And then finally, one of my favorite quotes, and I'm not actually sure I said this. It may have been David Meerman Scott, but I'm pretty sure I said it to him first. You must have thoughts to be a thought leader. AI doesn't have thoughts. ChatGPT doesn't have thoughts. And one of the concerns, honestly, that I have going forward is the pablum that will be produced by thoughtless people going into ChatGPT and saying, please write me a 750-word article that has these keywords in it, even though, you know, the output is largely worthless. I think there's plenty of worthless content on the internet now. And it irritates me. You know, you have to have thoughts to be a thought leader. I encourage you all to be thought leaders, but by having thoughts, not just by going into chat and saying, here's some keywords I want. So let's talk about our breakout. So what we're going to do a quick breakout. I'm hopeful that at least one person in each of these groups has logged on to ChatGPT before. Probably so, but let's just see what goes. So what I'd like you to do is create a persona for one of the titles of someone in your group, and then refine it for your industry. So I'm a CEO, but maybe I'm a product manager. And so I'd say, give me a persona for product manager. And it says, okay, boom, here's the CEO, here's the product manager. And then you say, okay, but I'm actually in med tech. And it goes, oh, okay, in that case, here's the persona. And you go, and what are the top issues for this role? So those are the 3 prompts that you have. And I think you'll be, if you haven't experienced this before, I think you'll be kind of blown away. And what I want to do, and Tom, you can check me on this, I want to spend 15 minutes on just doing this breakout. And if you disagree, you can tell me later. So here's the URL. If you don't already have it, chat.openai.com will take you to ChatGPT. I'd like you to break it. Liz, we're going to break into groups, and like 4 or 5 people in a group. Hopefully somebody there has done chat before. And let me go back to the questions. I just want you to use ChatGPT to create a persona for your title in your industry and see how much its answers align with your reality.
Steve, we have a question to repost the prompts, please.
You mean the ones that I'm showing right now?
Is that the right ones, Dwayne?
Yes. Yes, Dwayne said thanks already.
Okay. Gotcha.
However, I will do this. Let me stop sharing. If I can find Zoom in this story. Try this. I may no longer be sharing.
Correct.
But to save you some typing, I have texted the prompts. Cool. So we're going to just take 15 minutes to create a persona for your title or some other title, refine for your industry, figure out the top issues, and then when we come back, I'll invite you to share really quickly your experience. Did you feel like this resonated with, did it seem like a pretty good description of your title? Did you recognize yourself in the output? And then when we come back, we'll do just a quick share of a couple of groups, and then we will talk about the whole ethical conundrum that we are entering into. All right, so put the link. Barb is telling me to put the link to here. All right, I will. Thank you, Barb. And there's the link to ChatGPT. We're going to just take 15 minutes, get yourself a little chance, get organized and stuff, but break into groups, type those 3 prompts, read the answers, share the answers, talk about the answers. And then when we come back in about 15 minutes, we'll reflect on that experience. And then we'll talk about the ethical impact of all of this. Any other questions before we break out? And Tom, who's going to do the breakout groups?
I am. I'm ready for you.
Okay, go ahead. I'm ready.
All right, hitting that button.
All right, see you in 15 minutes.
There we go. And Tom, you have your timer set? Otherwise, I'll do mine.
Right now.
Okay.
So if you haven't dropped into a breakout room, there should be a pop-up window that is inviting you to a specific room that you need to click on in order to drop into that room. I've already crashed GPT once and needed to reload. And that was on a separate machine, so.
I think I'm gonna move somebody over. There we go.
Well, we have people wandering away. We're down to 18, 19 people in the big group. So if you're confused about groups or anything, go ahead and text us and we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, I'm watching the groups to make sure that there's a good number of folks. Okay, that one's full.
Cool.
Looks like Victor's by himself, so I'm gonna move him over. 7.
Mark Virgin says I was alone in my room.
I moved him.
That frequently happens.
Let's see, I just moved Mark over to room 8. So there should be a new pop-up coming, Mark.
Oh, so somebody is saying Zoom will not allow breakout groups to share screens. Is there a way to fix that? I'm guessing,
I didn't realize that was, I've never encountered that before.
I'll look online
yeah,
and
we
see.
may have to just tell people to use their own screens and then read off what they're seeing.
Cool. Rajesh, go ahead.
It
You're
says
muted.
share to breakout rooms.
Oh.
Share your screen to all breakout rooms.
Share, you cannot share screens, so the breakout groups cannot do the exercise that you're asking us to do.
Gotcha.
Um,
Yeah, I didn't realize that was a thing. So I'm wondering if maybe we continue the exercise and just have one of you do it and then read it to the others.
Okay, I guess.
Maybe we could paste
Oh.
that into the
Liz, could you broadcast that to the all the groups and say, just do one screen and read it aloud to the others?
Oh, I've got the chat. It's working.
You're
so-
doing it, Tom? Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Liz.
I can't remember if I've ever tried to do shared screen in groups before, but
Could be
what a
just-
strange restriction. Well, I'm going to leave Liz and Tom in charge, and I'm going to go get some more water, and I'll be back in 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay.
Excellent.
There are some sharing options.
We've got one person in the waiting room from what I can see too.
Okay, I'll grab that.
I'm afraid to click on anything now. I will be dragging my machine in to see if my technical person can, or my more technical person can figure out from the crash dump why I keep having this problem.
Yeah,
I unplugged like 98% of everything plugged into this machine, and it's clearly not related to that, which is what I thought was going on originally.
I did look at the advanced screen sharing options, and it was I don't know how this works with the breakout room, so I would need to check it out a little bit more. But there was an initial choice of, excuse me, it was by default that one participant can share at a time. So I tried changing it to say multiple participants, yeah, can share simultaneously. So I don't know how that affects the breakout rooms, but
Yeah, that might potentially have fixed it. Yeah, that's kind of an interesting. I always looked at that, if you have two people who both want to present PowerPoint at the same time in the same meeting, but yeah, that might affect also the breakout room. That's a good experiment to run.
Well, we'll find out. But I'm glad that they're able to figure stuff out, you know, kind of as we're trying this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. We have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people not in breakout rooms. That's fine. Interesting topic so far today. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm kind of amazed at the I haven't really had much time to play with ChatGPT. I've been working with some of the visual generative AIs, like
Yeah.
Midjourney and stuff. So yeah, I don't do that much stuff with text, so I haven't. It's interesting to see what's coming back. It's quite good, actually. At least as a starting point of like, oh, I have writer's block and I need to come up with something. Can this get started of the, and then heavily work it from there.
Yeah. And I'm interested to hear what Steve's going to say about ethics as far as this is concerned, So we'll see.
One of the funniest quotes I heard about AI was there was, and this is the dangerous part of writers being on strike, is they generally are quite clever with their commentary. And
Yeah.
somebody had responded back that, they were worried that the entertainment company executives were going to replace the writers with AI and the actors with AI. And they suggested that what would be much easier would be to simply replace the executives with AI.
Yeah, that would be nice, but I really doubt the executives would, want to do without those paychecks.
Yeah, I just thought it was a funny comment of, oh, leave the writers and the actors in place, just replace the executive.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant. Warren, oh shoot, who's the richest man in the world? Warren somebody?
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett. Not on the top of the list.
He's
I've
not
actually
richest,
chatted
but
with him
still.
before. Yeah.
He says he only invests in businesses that can be run by an idiot because eventually it will be.
Oh my goodness.
That sounds like him.
Yeah.
He's quite the character. I've chatted with him a couple of times.
Wait, you actually chatted with Warren Buffett?
Yeah. So
Tom, you're like a superstar to me now.
Right?
Yeah.
Tell us
so,
about this encounter.
The first time I didn't realize it was him even, so that's gonna sink a little bit. Is my in-laws are from Omaha and have known him for quite some time, and I was going for dinner at this place, and this old man and two women that were about his same age came down in the elevator, and I saw, several of them had canes, and I was like, oh, let me hold the door for you. And I held the door open, and they went through, and my father-in-law, hey, how's it going? Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while. And, they had some quick small talk, and I got on the elevator, and we all got on and my wife turned around and said, you know who that was that you held the door open for? And I said, no, wasn't really paying attention. She's like, that was Warren Buffett. Wow. Oh, I need to pay more attention.
Yes, you do.
So yeah, I ran into him. That was the first time I ran into him, and ran into him a couple of times since. Omaha is a small town disguised as a city, or vice versa. I'm not sure which. So
right. Did anybody keep track of time?
Yes. Let's see. I have it running. We are just coming up on 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So we should have about 5 minutes left, roughly.
Cool. Well, what I find in a lot of these breakouts is like it takes the first 5 minutes for us to figure out what the heck we're doing, and then give them a few more minutes. So cool.
Well, since we have a few people here, do you guys want to try doing that here too? Steve, when you had stepped away, I was mentioning to Tom that I saw a setting that I tried. So we'll hear if anybody has feedback. So it's under share screen options in Zoom, and then you click advanced sharing options. And I changed it to be, the default is one participant can share at a time, to saying multiple can share simultaneously. I don't know how that affects breakout rooms. I haven't looked into that, but
All
I
right,
figured it'd be worth a try.
It's likely that
Cool.
may have affected it, yeah.
that may be it.
Yeah, so-
Well, for those of you who are still here, let me go to full screen here. You can let's see. Can I spotlight myself?
I think I can.
I can
Spotlight.
spotlight. There we go. So here's an example. I went in and created a persona for a product manager, and it told me all about Alex Thompson, his experienced and apparently dynamic product manager with a proven track record and so forth. And this is in the handout that I mentioned earlier. But then I went in and said, well, wait a minute, this is generic. Refine it for medical. Oh, well, now the product manager is Dr. Emily Mitchell, who is a seasoned product manager specializing in the field of medical technology, and with a solid background in healthcare and a deep understanding of the unique challenges and opportunities within the industry. She's adept at developing innovative solutions, blah, blah, blah. And then I said, and what are the top issues for this role? And they listed out a number of things like regulatory compliance and so forth. And I'm trying to see, let's see. Did I write this down somewhere? I can't really see all of the detail of this. Oh, here it is. Okay. I put this in the notes. Regulatory compliance, clinical validation, user-centric design, interoperability, data privacy and security, market competition, emerging technologies, stakeholder alignment, reimbursement and market access. I don't know what that means. Product lifecycle management. So these are all things that Chat just kind of came up with for a product manager in medtech. What are their top issues? Is there, here, I'll go back to me. Is there anybody who wants to pull up ChatGPT and share their screen?
Let's see, Devashish isn't in here, but he would find this interesting given that he's in biotech. That's
I am here.
what did you think of the list?
What? No, it's great. I actually just did that. You followed the prompts that Steve had given, and it's quite interesting. Let me.
And did
share.
you feel it was rather accurate, or did you feel like you're looking at it going, that this isn't what I do?
There's a lot of what I would call marketing language, as in,
yeah.
It sounds really great. And
Buzzword salad.
I wish I was doing all of those things. But it does describe to a large extent what the role is, what the issues are, and it gets most of it right.
Yeah. That's what I'm finding as well. I mean, there are times, you're right, when I ask it to write marketing copy and I'm like, oh my God, this is not the kind of copy I wanted.
I actually tried it about a month ago. Our marketing VP wanted particular marketing collateral for the product differentiators for one of my products, and I used ChatGPT to basically provide the initial ideas, and it came up with a couple of things that I hadn't thought of. So cool. and a few that were clearly nonsense.
And Liz, I think we're coming up on time. If you want to,
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool.
But to finish that point, so I can't think of even what exactly the circumstance was, but one of my clients called and said, hey, do you have a brochure for something that we were doing? And I don't remember what it was. And the truth was I didn't. And of course I said, of course I do. And, I'll get it to you, soonish. Right. And I I kind of panicked. And so I just went into ChatGPT and I said, here's the description of what I have, write me 1,000 words. And it just did, and then I posted it into Word, and I went through with Grammarly and made it sound a little bit more like me, and remove some of the words that I would never use and stuff like that. But it was kind of amazing how it could do like 75% of what I needed instantly. And then I could spend my time refining it rather than creating it. Okay, so I think all the rooms are closed. I'm gonna one more time post this URL into the chat,
Ooh,
which is showing on
love what
screen.
John just said.
I'm sorry, what did John just say?
Seeing the output after asking it to refine the role for the company tainted by scandal. Wow,
There, we got everyone back.
wow,
I think you just have to read the headlines. And you've
that's an
got nothing.
awesome prompt.
Well, I have to tell you, my friend David periodically will send me things that he asked to write in the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants.
Good one.
And it's hysterical. And yet, if you remove the bikini bottom references and stuff, it's still pretty good copy. It's pretty amazing. And John, George has added, one key point is we're seeing this technology as it is now about a 7-year-old, which it got to in months. I mean, it's kind of scary, which, thank you, John, Jor, leads nicely into my point. This is a child that is going through, meteoric growth. And I don't know, surely none of you remembers the movie War Games, but Matthew Broderick was young then, and it was this game.
We all were.
Yeah, he tapped into, I don't remember who it was, NORAD's computer or something, and he finally got the computer to play the computer, and it was just kind of, scary, fascinating that finally, after playing 1,000 games of chess, the computer came back and said, the only way to win this game is not to play. Which, anyway, nice setup for AI and ethics, and that'll be our last point tonight. Again, the URL is on that QR code, or I posted it into the chat. So I asked ChatGPT, what's the harm? And it said, oh yeah, it can have harmful consequences if they are biased, inaccurate, or used inappropriately. And the full answer there is, again, in the handout. It goes on to say, it's important to recognize that AI generated results are not infallible and should be used with caution. It's important to consider the potential harms and biases of AI generated results and to ensure that they are used ethically and responsibly. And let me switch to full screen here, so that you can read it more carefully. There we are. And here's some things we don't actually know. We don't know what to do about fact checking. I mean, we have seen horrific things happen over the last 5 years due to fact checking. And who knows what's going on with Twitter, and I'm not even going to go there. But what about plagiarism? Teachers could barely keep up with Wikipedia, and now they're having kids turn in their homework with that were written, and the only indication they have is that the kid sounds too smart for that kid.
No,
Right?
no bad use of grammar with Y-O-U-R versus Y-O-U''re.
Exactly. Yeah. ChatGPT doesn't make hominin errors as much as teenagers do, right? And what about copyright infringement? Sarah Silverman is suing right as we speak text from her book, which is, by the way, copyrighted, has been exposed in ChatGPT. And this kind of reminds me as well of remember Google was scanning all the books ever printed, and you know the authors of these copyrighted books just went insane. And so we don't know what to do about this. And just to say something scathing, I don't think the government is the right body of people to solve this, because after the Facebook trials, it was so clear to me that no one in the government has a clue about how computers work.
Or at least at that level of government.
Right. But so I went back to 1942. Isaac Asimov in 1942 created the 3 laws of robotics, and I think this is the answer. The first law is a robot, by which I mean AI, may not injure a human being or through an action allow a human being to come to harm. That seems like a pretty good rule. And he goes on, but then a few years later, in one of his later books, he created the zeroth law. A robot may not harm humanity or by inaction allow humanity to come to harm. And I thought, wow, I mean, there's the answer. And I really wish, and I don't believe, but I wish that the people who are working on AI tools today were taking these laws into account. Or maybe it's as simple as the Hippocratic Oath, first do no harm. I'm sure that no one creating AI or social media expected these tools to help spread bias and hate, and yet you know they have, right? And so here's a really sad thing. 76% of people in the either in the US, I think this is a US survey. Let me just say, the QR code goes to this Verge article, and there's the long URL there. This Verge article says 76% of us think AI needs to be regulated. 76% think that the model should use data that has been fact-checked. 78% think it should clearly state that it was created by AI, and 76% think it should be illegal to create video and audio deepfakes. And, you know, I have to agree with much of that, but unfortunately, I just have no confidence that our government has any idea what we are talking about right now. I mean, they're recording it, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure it's stored on some server somewhere, apparently on Zoom servers. But the real point is, I don't know who should regulate this, but somebody should regulate this, right? And I got this note from Reddit in the marketing chat just a couple of days ago. I got a market-wide email from our CAO saying anyone caught using AI tools will be fired. Well, that's not the right answer either. AI makes a lot of things easy. But if you really want to freak out, there's a movie or a YouTube video called The AI Dilemma. There's another QR code here for it, where Tristan Harris and Asa Raskin talk about AI, and it will just scare you to death. Another one, I think this may be the one where it talks about, no, I'm sorry. The other one that I'm thinking about is called The Social Dilemma, I think it is. And they talk about how Pinterest and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram keep poking you a little bit, trying to get you to re-engage. I mean, it's really scary. But nonetheless, I encourage you to watch this video. I'm thinking it was on YouTube and it was free. But here's the thing. It's a vortex. I mean, you can get pulled into this crazy vortex and never come out again. I mean, you can just remember when you first encountered YouTube, and then, you know, your spouse said, honey, I haven't seen you in 3 days. What have you been doing? And it's just like, oh, well, I was just clicking on Star Trek. And then I got into Star Wars. And then I got into Luke. And then I got into lightsabers. And, you know, you can just get really pulled into this. So quick recommendation. I've been enjoying this email from Auto GPT. It's a weekly newsletter that tells you what's happening in the world of AI. And some other things, just real quick, just to kind of wrap up things. Here's some really interesting tools. I mean, obviously, you know, ChatGPT that we've looked at today. There's another one called Cynthia.io, which creates videos using avatars that are really quite persuasive. I mean, they look like real people who are reading your script in a really good way. $22 a month. There's Jenny by Lovo, which I was blown away by. One of the questions that people ask me frequently, and I think I joked about this earlier, people say often, Steve, do you have an audio version of your book? And the problem is I can't read my book without correcting it while I'm reading it. You know, I find things I would say differently now than I did then. And so I went to this Jenny tool and pasted in the book. And with the exception of like some pauses in the speaking, it sounded like a human being reading my book. I was blown away. $19 a month. And then finally, you've probably heard of DALL-E. And I don't understand what the hell is going on with their pricing. It's $15 for 115 credits. I don't know what credits are. It doesn't really explain it very well. And I wasn't really, you know, willing to commit to it. But anyway, what's really cool is you can go in and say, I need a picture of a scientist on a camel. And it'll say, boom, here you go. Here's a scientist on a camel. So, you know, there are so many interesting tools that we're going to see as time goes forward. But let me wrap up by saying this. As product managers, you need to know the customers and the problems you solve. AI cannot do this for you. You can use AI tools to assist your work, and every single salesperson you know wants to add AI to your product right now today. And that may be a good idea, and it's probably stupid. Only add AI to your products if it solves customer problems, not because it's jazzy or, ooh, wouldn't it be neat if. Some products do not need AI added to them. And final note, I found this just yesterday on Reddit. ChatGPT can write a pretty good user story with acceptance criteria. I can't wait to see how well it will handle pissed off stakeholders with a release going sideways. Chat cannot do product management. It can simplify a lot of product management, but it can't do it.
We'll probably run into it in customer service, trying to solve its own problem.
Right. And yeah, I mean, there are going to be there honestly, no kidding. There are going to be so many fascinating implementations of this. And yet, you know, in the AI dilemma, you watch that, you go, oh my gosh, you know, we're unleashing Pandora's box here. And, you know, if you're not sure, you know, be sure, you know, if you're wondering about it at all, just go back and watch Terminator, you know, 1. It's a whole, you know, the whatever that's called. And yet, overall, I feel like this generative AI is going to be brilliant for most of us who spend too much of our time on nonsense and not enough of our time on understanding customers. If we could automate a lot of the nonsense in product management, we'd have more time to do the important parts of product management. So here are my coordinates. You can reach out to me at steve@productgrowthleaders.com. I'm on LinkedIn, of course. I'm, at least for now, I'm still on Twitter, X, Elon, whatever that thing is. And you can get a copy of all of these slides and some other tools at the URL shown on my shirt there, at that QR code. But let me turn back over to you, Tom. It's the top of the hour. I think I'm on schedule, or I'm like 15 minutes late or 15 minutes early. I'm not quite sure.
No, it's
Tom, back to you.
pretty close to exactly on time. thought we might have a few minutes to take a question or two.
Cool.
And then we'll take a handful of questions as they come in. Would like to hear, from folks, get some feedback here. Jim, I see you. Have your
Yeah, you
hand up.
don't have the hand raise enabled apparently.
Oh,
Just
Huh.
two things I wanted to share. Steve, is great session. Thanks for this. The one with the telephone or with all the secretaries, you made the comment that don't worry, product managers, it's not going to take your job. But the truth is, it's probably not quite an accurate statement. It'll take your job if you're one of the people who doesn't learn how to use these tools to become a better product manager. The ones who are skilled in the tools and have upped their game are going to beat you out for the job. So that's the advice I would offer.
Thank you, Jim. That is a very good point. And yes, I mean, if you are the Secretary of Development, we don't need you. Right. And certainly if I'm looking at two candidates and one is savvy and one is not, obviously the savvy person is going to win. So very, very good point.
And the one other thing that's really important to keep in mind about generative AI is it's backward looking. It looks at the existing data set out there and churns out something based on that. So if all the new stuff that's getting generated is only from the old stuff, then it's not going to be innovating or creating new things. And we have to keep in mind that what we bring to the party is the ability to have a vision of something that doesn't yet exist and
Brilliant.
to really create. So that's
Thank you. Brilliant.
something I'd recommend keeping in mind around all the generative AI stuff.
Brilliant. And,
Also,
as I said a few
Garbage
moments
in,
ago,
garbage out.
yeah, you got to have thoughts to be a
Training
thought
data
leader.
sets.
You got
Where
to
are they
be,
coming
you got to
from?
have thoughts to be a thought leader.
Yep.
And you've got to have, fresh ideas to have innovation. Brilliant. Thank you.
anybody else? I can't see the full screen, but
And Steve, thank you for the presentation. Lauren here. Oops, let me turn my camera back on. I'm curious if anybody attending tonight has dealt with intellectual property, and or the flip side of that very important coin for me is customer secure data around, say, credit card transactions, people writing code. They ask ChatGPT for help on the code. It gets scraped on the internet and whoop, there goes a portion of your code base that's now intertwined in a broader. I
Monia,
can't even, my head's
my
exploding when I think about
company
this.
strictly regulated, saying that do not use any AI products.
And who's speaking? I'm sorry.
I
missed that.
I couldn't tell either, Lauren. But no, you're right. I mean, this is exactly
Mohan.
the issue. It's
Oh, thank you.
if I go into chat and say, what is the formula for identifying the first name out of a full name? Well, that's Excel, right? If I go in and I say, write me some code that does this thing, and it pulls it from maybe open source
Or
library
maybe not.
or not. And certainly that is the problem. And my concern is, honestly, I don't think the government understands what we're talking about. And so I don't really want them deciding these things, but somebody has to get involved, particularly on, IP protection, privacy, information, PIP, right? Those things have to be dealt with, but I have so little confidence in my government's knowledge of technology, except for the NSA, who is well beyond all of us in technology, but I don't think they're making laws.
I would say that this is kind of the regulator's dilemma across all technologies or particular verticals. Most folks that are crafting regulations and law generally have a background in law and not a background in whatever they're regulating.
Right.
And so they know sort of the grammar of how to structure things, and in theory what some of the mechanisms at work for controls are, but they seldom know as much as the technology experts. We see this with all sorts of things, even industries that have been around for a million years, like shipping and transportation. I've seen somebody get up and they said something, it sounded pretty good to me, and my father said, wow, that was a bunch of, well, he used another that guy knows nothing at all about ships. And to somebody who doesn't know, it sounds pretty good. They know enough to sound okay for a 10-minute soundbite. And again, that's kind of when the counter argument is when you bring somebody from industry, then they're usually trying to bend things their direction.
Right. Which is Obamacare.
Yeah, and this is the push and pull that we always have between industry trying to get their own way, and so it's an interesting game, probably not limited to just AI, but since AI is so new, I think there's a lot of education to be done, both on both sides about what the problems are, as well as getting folks that are trying to figure out how to put controls in place educated on what's there. I will say that the intellectual property side, which I have dealt with, we have had a problem with software code that predates AI, in that people would go to GitHub and go copy something, and or they had written some code from their prior employer, and they'd say, well, I already have a piece of code that does that, I'll just drop this in here. And that's been a huge issue.
Right. And yet, to Lauren's point, it's like, I didn't even know I was doing that, right? So as a programmer, right, I post my code in my personal GitHub library, and then I use it in my next job, and I know I'm doing that. And maybe I should know better, right? I mean, it was work for hire in the first company, right? But if I'm pulling code through ChatGPT saying, give me some code to do the following, I don't even know I'm stealing.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, here's a final thought to just kind of freak you out on your next morning walk. I mean, just, talk to your friend about this. If all this code and all this content is being created by computers, what the hell are we going to do? And maybe it's time for the government, I hate to be saying this word, the government to say, you know what, as data providers, as the people who's having their data sold by Google and others to other people, how about we pay people for the data about them that we are using? So, I mean, at some point, if everybody's unemployed because the computers are doing all the work, we're still going to need like consumers somehow in this story, but not if all the consumers are unemployed. I mean, in some ways, the writers are going about this the wrong way with the current strike. It's like, we're going to demand that there be at least 5 humans on every writing staff. Well, that's not really the right answer, I don't think. But it is just an interesting, like when you're walking to, or you're having coffee, think about, what if we could figure out a way for the government to pay you for your data instead of just taking it from you, which is what they're doing today.
There was another article that was looking back at the history of automation and technologies that have done job displacement from electric motors all the way through. And the one that kept popping up was, and it's only moved slightly since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, is, we finally didn't have to work on Saturdays, and we got down to a 40-hour work week, which we've blown through in the technology world. Most of us work significantly longer than that in a given week.
Yes, we did.
But some people were saying, well, maybe we'll be able to get down to just only working, 3 days a week, and that would create enough value and the machines could run the rest of it. And then a historian had chimed in saying that, yeah, you could go back to the mid 1800s and see nearly the exact same argument put forward, and somehow we managed to find work to keep us all busy.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
it's interesting to see where this is all going. There's a lot of question marks.
Yeah. But you know, as I think I said at the beginning, it's like we're in early days here. This is raw HTML. This is Word 1.0. And you know, in the last 1 year, they've gone from version 1 to 3.5 to 4 is now out and 5 is projected. I mean, this is moving really quickly. And you know, I think you're also, all of you, going to be seeing just innumerable courses or articles or videos on prompt engineering. And that's kind of like learning how to make letters blink with HTML. You know, yeah, maybe you learn it in the short term, but in the long term, the UI is going to take care of it. We don't need to spend a lot of time mastering prompt engineering, because in 12 months, that's not going to be a thing. Well, anyway, Tom, why don't you wrap this thing up?
Yeah, so I'd like to thank everyone for coming this evening. Reminder, we do already have the speaker lined up for September. We originally had that person lined up for July, and then something came up at the last minute. So apologies for missing July as our meeting. But we do, as a consequence, have September already posted. That should be appearing on the website soon, but it was in the slide deck I showed a little bit earlier before things went sideways. So keep an eye out for that. That should be announced very, very soon. And if you have some colleagues that couldn't make it this evening and think that this could be of use to them, as Steve said, that he's got the slides posted there. We'll also post a link on the website. But more importantly, we'll have an edited version of tonight's presentation on the YouTube channel for svpma.org. If one thing you might want to do is follow SVPMA on YouTube, and if you click the little notify, it'll let you know when the new videos get posted. It will take a couple of weeks to get caught up on editing, so we're just getting things posted, but that should be available within a couple of weeks here. So with that, thank you very much to Steve. This was a great deal of fun and lively conversation, and I think we all got pushed to some of us have been playing with it, others have been hearing others talk about it, but we've been too busy to mess with it. So finally we've seen it up close and personal, and it's definitely given us some things to think about as far as how this affects product strategy and whatnot. I'll remind folks from the product strategy standpoint, the Gartner free technical webinars, tomorrow there's a presentation on AI in product strategy, so you might want to check that out. It's a free webinar. It happens morning West Coast time, but not too crazy early. So check that out if you're interested in continuing the learning, and wish you all luck, and we'll see you next month. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you, Steve.
Thank you for inviting me.
That was a great talk. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.